I'd like to cover in this video kind of how I got pregnant, the miscarriage situation that I went through, and why I think I miscarried. If you've recently gone through a miscarriage, or you are just in that first trimester and you're feeling anxious because you know that that's still like the danger zone for pregnancy, then stick around for this video as I'm going to share one of my most personal stories, which is my miscarriage story. So I'm able to share this story now with a lot more strength than I would have been able to do back when it had first happened. And I say that to hopefully offer someone some comfort, because if you have recently just experienced a miscarriage, it hurts. It's painful, and you know, it's a loss. It is. When you become pregnant and you accept the pregnancy, whether you wanted it or planned it or didn't plan it, but once you've internalized, okay, this is happening, and you start planning for it, and then you miscarry, i.e. the baby passes away, I mean, that's a loss. And everything that you had mentally embodied disappears, and it's hard. It is hard. It's a death, and not everyone understands unless you've actually went through it. So that is why I'm actually sharing this video, is because sometimes having a miscarriage is lonely, and you just feel like no one understands, or people take it lightly, especially if you weren't very far along. It doesn't really matter. Like, once you are implanted with that embryo and you embody that I'm gonna be a mom, this is my baby energy, like, you can't undo that. Like, even saying that just puts chills through my body. So if you are recently experiencing a miscarriage, I do want to tell you, I empathize with you, I sympathize for you, and it will get easier eventually. Like I said, I'm 18 years past the miscarriage, but I still think of that day. It was November 20th, 2005, and I think about that. Like, on that day, I always remember that event. I always remember that event, and it doesn't sting as hard as it used to, but it's still, you know, it creates some type of energy. So just know that each day and each month and each year, you will have more peace, but it doesn't lessen the blow, if that makes sense. Anyways, I'm rambling. So I'd like to cover in this video kind of how I got pregnant, the miscarriage situation that I went through, and why I think I miscarried. So, and this is all just my experience. Everyone's experience is different. First of all, I had my first child when I was 14. I got pregnant when I was 13. I had her when I was 14. Very fertile. I had a boyfriend at the time, one boyfriend, one partner, and was in love at the time, and got pregnant. And so I knew my body could get pregnant. And after I had her, obviously so young, I was put on birth control afterwards. Obviously, my mom put me on a birth control. So I got on the depot shot. And I was on that shot from the time I had her until I think I was like 18 or 19. And I ended up in a serious relationship and had started to think maybe I should get off this depot shot because I've been on it for so long, and try some other birth controls, because, you know, I haven't had a menstrual cycle in like 6 years. And what if one day he and I want to have a baby? And so what I didn't realize is that my body and birth control, they don't like each other a whole lot. And so I had tried multiple different pills. I had tried the Nuva ring thing. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I was trying like all those things. And I would like literally when I would put that ring in, within 12 hours, I would start vomiting and it would just make me sick. And so my body just did not like the birth controls. So I was like switching them just back to back, like trying to figure out something that wasn't going to make me sick, not cause me migraines, like all that stuff. And during that process, I ended up getting pregnant. So it wasn't actually a like planned pregnancy because we weren't married yet. We hadn't discussed actually like having a baby yet. And so I got pregnant and it was kind of more of a like, oh, you know, like, because usually that's like a permanent life situation, life change. And so it was a little stressful. Then my fiance got really excited and we both were really happy, and we had already started to decorate a room in the house. We had started buying the furniture. We had like the cutest diaper bag. At the time, for whatever reason, I felt like I needed like a black Coach diaper bag, and he went and got that for me as a present, and it was awesome. It was so exciting, and everything was going okay. We were still a little stressed because we had other stuff going on and we weren't actually anticipating a baby at that time in our life. We had just bought a brand new house and weren't really planning on the expense of a baby at that moment. So we moved into this house, and shortly after, I think it was like within like a week or two of moving in the house, I think I was cramping. Sorry, it's been 18 years. So I remember we were at Lowe's, and I went to the bathroom and was spotting and was like, oh no, like, I wonder why I'm spotting. I don't remember that with my first pregnancy. And then I don't know if it was the same day or later that day or the next day. It might have been the next day. I went into the bathroom and definitely felt the release, and I was terrified, obviously, and then wiped and was like, oh no, because it was a lot of blood. So then I of course get up and look, and I'm like, oh no. And at that point I was, I think, right around 12 weeks. So I could see it, the baby, you know, the fetus. I could see it, my baby, in the toilet. So of course I was freaking out, obviously, and called for my fiance. He's a firefighter, he has medical experience, and you know, when he saw that, he was like, yeah, maybe you should call the doctor. So, you know, of course, I'm calling the doctor panicked, like freaking out. And I wasn't even comprehending actually that it was too late. I mean, obviously. But at the time, my OBGYN was a male doctor. And I called, freaking out, crying, and told him what I was seeing. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? The baby's in the toilet. Like, what am I supposed to do? And he tells me to flush it. Like, can you imagine? Like, I'm not sure if that's the normal thing that your doctors tell you when you miscarry, especially when it's that age. Please tell, like, if you've had a miscarriage, please drop it in the comments. Is that what your doctor told you? Because I was mortified and was like, I'm not gonna flush it. Like, what? Of course, so then I didn't know exactly what to do. So me and my, fiance was having this debate, what we were gonna do. And this is, this is kind of crazy. And like I said, this is very personal, but because I was kind of just dumbfounded and did not know what to do, but I knew that I did not feel comfortable flushing my baby down the toilet, I was like, can you get it out? Like, can you get it out of the toilet, to my husband now, fiance then. Of course, there was that whole, like, what are we gonna do with it? And I'm like, I don't know, like, let's put it in a mason jar, because I need to figure out what we can safely do with this. Like, I'm not gonna flush it. Like, that doesn't feel good for me. And so, we put it into a mason jar, sealed it, and I covered it up with the bag, obviously, and I put it in my fridge because I didn't know what to do at that moment. Plus, I was grieving and freaking out and not knowing what to do. I just knew that I could not flush my baby down the toilet. Like, I'd already named the baby. Like, that's where it stayed for a little bit until I came up with a game plan. And luckily, I had some immediate family that have a lot of land and was able to have a family member bury it, which I felt was a lot more appropriate for the situation. So that's what we ended up doing. I'm not really sure what the protocol is, and I don't even know if I want to know, like, what happens, like, when people have to have, like, emergency DNC or whatever. I don't even want to know, to be honest. I did not look that up because, it doesn't really matter. Like, kind of goes back to one of those, like, your body, your choice, your miscarriage baby, your choice. Like, you have to do what feels good for you and what makes the most sense for you and your beliefs and all that, and honor that so that it can help you process and get through this experience, because it's one of those hard experiences. You did lose your baby. And actually, it's weird, like, even now talking about it, like, I didn't think after 18 years it would resurface that, but here we are. It did. Weird. So, what happens after you miscarry? Like, it was awkward. I did hair, and so I had a lot of clients that knew I was pregnant and expecting, and it became so awkward because I didn't want to, like, make a public service announcement, like, hey everyone, like, just so everybody knows, like, on Facebook or something. Like, I don't usually post that kind of stuff. So the bad thing was I kind of had to take the blows as they came. And so, like, there for a while, I think I didn't tell clients at first because I just couldn't. I didn't want to have the conversation. I didn't want the energy to be weird. I didn't want them to feel bad for asking. But then eventually I was going to tell them. But then I had another curveball situation happen, which was I ended up getting pregnant like 4 weeks after I miscarried, which was really, like, I wasn't planning to do that. We weren't being extremely careful, obviously. But I didn't think you could get pregnant right after, but I think I might have, I don't know. I didn't research it, but I'd always heard people say, like, oh, it'd probably take a few months to be able to get pregnant again if you wanted to. And so I think in that time, I was just kind of out of my head and ignorant and just didn't look into it probably like I should have. So I ended up pregnant again. And it was weird because I kept being like, why do I still feel like I'm pregnant? And then I think it was like January, like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, something like that. I took a test and I was pregnant and was very confused. Yes, and so my daughter now, she's 16. I got pregnant right after I miscarried, like a month later. Now looking back, I wondered, like, why did I miscarry? So here are my, like, probably 3 reasons why I think I miscarried. and I wasn't aware of that at the time. One, I do have MTHFR gene mutation, and I have the double. So if you're not familiar with that, don't know what that is, then definitely look it up, and you can get like a quick blood test done to like see, you know, if you have mutation or not. So that makes people more prone to miscarrying, especially like if they're not aware, so that they can properly supplement themselves. I'm not going to go into that because that can turn into like a whole video by itself, but look that up. And then if you're not sure if you have it, definitely go get tested. And then the next reason is I had gotten breast implants about like a year and a half, 2 years before I got pregnant. And if you've been watching my channel, like if you're a return viewer here, my body was fighting the breast implants for 20 years. I had no idea that that's what was wrong with me. And so since I have MTHFR gene mutation, and then I got breast implants, and my body was like super freaking out from me putting that foreign body in there, and then I got pregnant on top of that, I think my body was in just freak out mode, to be honest, like to where it was just trying to protect itself. And, you know, I think that assisted in the miscarriage. And then on top of that, the last thing would be stress, because I did have a lot going on in my personal life, and there was a lot of stressful stuff happening. And stress is not good for your body. We all know this, but definitely when you're pregnant, it's so important to try to find a way to be like calm and zen and not get like worked up with anxiety and depression and just life. Like, it's so important. And that's like, that could be a whole nother video in itself as well, how important it is for you to take care of your inner state while pregnant, because that can impact your baby. So those are like the 3 reasons that I really think attributed to the miscarriage. And then, you know, some people might say the 4th reason is because if it was meant to be, it would be, and if it wasn't, it wouldn't be. And I'm not opposed to that either. I hope this video like was comforting to listen to, just so you felt like you're not alone, and maybe you learned something from the video. If you would like to share anything in the comments, please do. If you have any questions about anything that I said, just leave that in the comments. And yeah, if you're new here and you're feeling my vibe, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.